So we're going to be taming the wild today. A bit of plot maintenance. And I haven't got my tooth in again. So Pablo is presenting the show today. I'm going to, first of all, while that's on charge, I'm going to be doing some weeding. But I've got to empty my wheelbarrow where the club root is in. And it's going to be chucked over the back end of the tip up the top there. Just to get shut a bit. And then I'm going to be sorting out the hedges after, probably about 2:30. It's 12 o'clock now. So I'm going to get the weeding done, and there's plenty to do. You only have to turn your back for 2 minutes on them weeds, and they're all over the place, as you'll see shortly. But you've got to keep up appearances, like Mrs. Bucket. Right, see you in a bit. So this is the weed situation on the lady farmer's side. It's after about 3 weeks of neglect. Doesn't take long, guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through methodically, but I'm going to start at that front end. But this is the back end that's going to be cleared. I'm going to work my way down through all of these sections and weed it. That wood chip certainly suppresses the weeds fantastically. It really is good stuff, the wood chip, as you can see. It's just that unfortunately we don't get enough drops of wood chip from the arborists and tree men. But it's good when you can get hold of it, get the wood chip. Because if you can see all the paths that have been wood chipped, there's none a weed on them. But there's weeds in the beds. These are the onion beds. These are probably going to be taken up either this week or next week, the onions. The summer onions. You can see in here, we just had flowers in there this year. That's what let us down, because we didn't have enough crops in the ground really on this side. That's why she got such a low result. She was like 39 or something like that. Out of, I think it's 68 plots. I thought there were more than that, because they had been going through a spell where they were splitting them down, the plots. Obviously we've got to trim all these back as well so we can get a passageway through. And down there. But that's where the flowers are. There's not many on this year, on the blackberry bushes, but on the lane up that way, there's loads of blackberries on them. So I don't know what's going on here. I don't know whether it's they're just brambles, these, or what, but there's not a great deal of blackberry action on these plants. So we're going to trim back the passageways and then continue to weed on here, in here, and down the front here, and hopefully start here. Hopefully I'll be able to get that bit done, which is probably around about 30 metres by 10, about 10 by 30. I don't think it's 10 actually, I think it's about 8 by 30, that section there. So I'll get that weeded while the battery's charging up for my trimmer, my hedge trimmer. Right, let's crack on. I'm not going to get nowhere talking, am I? So I'm going to need this hoe, some pretty sturdy gardening gloves of the rubber variety, the ones I've got here, and some secateurs there for the overhanging branches and brambles and things like that, the sort of small gauge stuff that I'm going to be clipping back, along with a wheelbarrow and maybe a big bucket. So I'm going to get a big bucket so that as I'm going around I can just keep filling the bucket and then take it down to the wheelbarrow, tip it into the wheelbarrow, and then eventually tip it all off at the top. There's such a lot to get through. I'm just going to tip it over the edge. There's a tipping ground up at the top there for your vegetables and stuff, and your waste vegetation, and that's where it's all going to be going, up at the top there. Alright, wish us luck. Right, that bit's done at the front, weed free. I'm just going to move my way back now and get behind it. I need to trim these off as well. It's not too far off being fully charged, that battery for the trimmer. I've got to get rid of these. This is bindweed, this. very prolific. The old bindweed. Got some brambles there and horses' tails in and amongst the comfrey. It's a bit of a jungle, isn't it, down this end? Quite like it though. The bees like the flowers on the comfrey. They're all over the comfrey. Right, I'm going to carry on. Bit of jungle warfare's broken out, hasn't it, Bradley?
Yep.
There's Kong. Is that Kong or is it like a white? It's like a white Kong, isn't it? Who's he?
I forgot.
There's a the mystical dragon there. And what's that one? A normal dragon?
Yeah.
He got two sets of wings, hasn't he?
Yeah, I've got another dragon there. I've got the old dragon in his house there.
Oh, let's have a look at him.
So I just killed him.
Fight my way through this forest. Is he just having a sleep at the top of the trees?
Yep.
He's a pretty one, isn't he? That's one of them that guy makes, isn't it? Out of what's it called? That
3D printed.
3D printed, yeah. Show us him in all his glory.
Let's get him off the plant.
You snapped one of his arms off, yeah, haven't you?
No, he just came off.
Yeah, he's like a Chinese dragon, isn't he?
Yeah, you used to have whiskers. You can customize them to have whiskers or not.
And we're fully charged. They've all blown. What a shame. So they need to come out now. You can eat them. You can still eat them. So I might see if we can get them into my mum's and my sister's freezers, because we don't have the room anymore. But there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I've just given Mick one, so there were 9 left. But if you leave them a couple of days after they're ready, that's what happens. You've got to take them at the right time, really. Otherwise, you get that. Everything else is looking okay. See you, Mick. Have a good one, mate. Mick's going to be doing a big greenhouse there. That'll be interesting to watch. Watch his channel, Old MacDerby's Farm, because he's going to be doing that next week. He's hoping to get it done by the 30th, because he's back in work on the 30th. He's actually off at the moment, but he's going to be doing a big, I think, sort of 12 by 12 greenhouse over on that side. Right, sound good. Right, let's crack on in here. I think we'll do a potato tip out in a bit as well and see what we've got. So those are some of the partially blown collies. I'll show you at the end exactly what they'll do look like once they're de-leaved. All that leaf's going to be going into the compost, obviously, so I'm just going to be left with what I'm left with on the cauliflowers. About 3 or 4 days ago, they were in perfect condition, but now they've started to bolt, which means that the flower themselves has popped and it's going to seed type of thing now. I'll turn into true flowers and bolting. So we're going to be eating them anyway. So we're going to freeze them up, part boil them, freeze them up, and hopefully we'll have some space to put them, because that freezer's looking quite full now. Might put them in my mum's and my sister's. Back onto the broccoli side, boys and girls, and we can see that the big heads were cut off, or the majority of the big heads were cut off. As if you've seen the show the last couple of weeks, you'll have seen that. But we've got the side shoots, cut the main head off and the side shoots come. And it's a bit like the sprouting broccoli then when it comes out to the sides. But that's just probably the same sort of a size that you get in the supermarket from a side shoot. Same with these ones over here. So we're going to take those off now, and we'll see what we've got as a second harvest, basically, off the broccoli. So there's the broccoli as well, purple sprouting broccoli, and the side shoots that we got off the Calabrese. And there's quite a lot there. There's probably about 15 quid's worth there. Altogether, there's about 30 quid's worth of veg there at least. Not bad. And that's about the 4th, I think, harvest that we've taken from this cage so far. Cost £238 to build this cage. And I think by the end of the season it'll have paid for itself. In fact, I'm pretty sure. Organic vegetables, you know, fresh from the plot. It's got to be, hasn't it? Because so far we've had 16 full heads of broccoli. We've had 20... Well, this is personally that we've taken. We've actually grown on the cauliflower side. There were 42 cauliflowers altogether. 42 cauliflowers. We've taken about 36, something like that. 35, I think. I lose count because I've been giving them away. We've not had the space. And we've been eating them every week. We've been eating what we've been making, and we've been freezing up what we've been producing. On these purple sprouting broccoli plants behind me, there's still quite a few left on. There's probably about the same as what we've got there, that I've just shown you, that are still left on the plants. And we've already had 2 harvests from those previously. The broccoli now, you're just left with the leaf, to be honest, on the calabrese. Yeah. We've still got 6 cabbages to come. We've got all the kale that's going to be still left in here. I bet it's going to wipe its face. It's going to be... There'd be enough food here to justify the building of this, which should last about 15 years. So that's not bad. That's not a bad return, I don't think. As I say, I'm leaving some of it on, the purple sprouting, to be harvested in the future, in the next couple of weeks. Now what you're looking at there is a broccoli head that I missed, and if you look at it, you can see the flowers, tiny little flowers that are produced from the broccoli head. Yeah? So when I say it bolted and it's gone to flower, that's what I mean. That was tucked away here at the back, down there, and I couldn't see it. And then when I've exposed it, it's looking like that. That's what happens to it. They're still edible, but yeah, the little tiny flowers that you can see there. That's why they're called florets. It's a floret of broccoli and a floret of cauliflower. They eventually turn into little flowers like that. Multiple flowers, which is quite pretty in its own little way. Make nice bouquets out of it. Just going around the outside of the tent now, and I've just spotted those 2 offshoots of the calabrese, which I've missed. So I'm going to get them now as well. Don't know how they missed the pogrom, them lot. Anyway, this is the 3rd harvest from the Brassica tent. And if I'd got them on Thursday, when I should have done, they'd have been in perfect condition then, but unfortunately I left it a couple of days and we had a hot day, and that's what happens. We got the bolting. They're still edible, nothing wrong with them. You can still parboil and eat them, and the broccoli's looking pretty good. These are the stems of the broccoli that came off, and this is the purple sprouting. These have been in there for about an hour, and it doesn't take long for the leaf to start to wilt, so we're going to be making some soup out of that. There's not much evidence actually of whitefly on any of the leaf or any sort of bug action. A lot of it looks pretty green and lush. So yeah, we're going to make the soup out of that, the Hulk soup. These are going to be parboiled and frozen. You know, we've got about probably about 3 freezer bags, medium-sized freezer bags full, which is 3 decent meals worth there, and we've already harvested probably about 12 decent meals worth for the family. And broccoli wise, we've got quite a lot. We've got about 30 decent meals worth of broccoli out of it. Cauliflower, not broccoli, fool. that we've harvested already, and there's still all that leafy green goodness in there. So that's definitely paid its dues, that. Definitely paid its dues. Look at all that kale, loads of kale, loads of cabbage still left. What we need to accompany this brassica feast is some potatoes, I think. What do you think, guys? I don't know what they're going to be like, these, because it's been a bit of a hit and miss year for the spuds. And we started these late. We started these about a month late. But the yellowed ones there, the yellow-leaved ones, I don't favour them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tip them out and just see what we've got. I'm not expecting great things, guys, but you never know. Just need the trusty secateurs to trim the horns off. Now they're all labelled up, these. You've got Ulster Prince there. What's that one? I'll tell you in a minute. But the ones with the yellow one, I'm gonna get those. So I'm gonna trim the horns off with these, and we'll compost the leafy green matter above, or the leafy yellow matter as it is now. We'll get that in the compost, and then we'll have a tip out and see what we've got. So if you remember, about 12 weeks ago, we started these off in the buckets, and we had 5 different varieties. Now I put 2 of each, so we've got 12, I think, altogether. Have we? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Oh yeah, we had 5 different varieties, so that's 10 buckets. 1 seed potato went into each one, and these are the sort of first early varieties. So we've got the Charlotte, which is a kind of a first to second early, really, as a salad potato, a waxy small spud, very nice taste. You can have it hot or cold. Sharps Express, I've put them in some sort of alphabetical order, but obviously they should be Sharps Express, but they're just down as Express, so they'll go in there. And then there's the Pentland Javelin, Ulster Prince, and the Saxon on the end. So altogether we've had 2 potatoes, 2 potatoes, 2 potatoes, 2 potatoes, 2 potatoes. So altogether we've had 10 seed potatoes put into each into this run, basically, 1 in each bucket. I'm blathering on like a complete buffoon there, boys and girls, but let's just see how they've got on. They've been in for the same length of time, and they've had the same weather conditions. They've been watered about 3 times altogether during the dry spells. What you have had is shrinkage. So we've had shrinkage of the compost that they've been in, and so it comes away from the sides, and that's probably going to have affected them. I'm not saying they're going to be record breakers, these, by any means. In fact, I'm expecting just about a pound or so spuds out of each one, out of each bucket, if I'm lucky. The best year we had was for Red Dukes of York, where they were averaging sort of 2.25 pounds, or around about a kilo from each bucket. But this year, I'm guessing it's going to be a pound if I'm lucky, because of the weather conditions that we've had. But yeah, so altogether, hopefully we've got about £10 of spuds there, for a lot less than you would pay in the shops, boys and girls. So yeah, it's time to ask Lady Charlotte to lift up her skirts and show us her worth. See what we've got. Let's crack on. Alright, first of all, I'm going to be topping this bed up with the potato compost. So I'm going to give it a weeding first, and then we're going to tip out onto the beds each variety individually, root through the compost, pick out the potatoes, and just leave the remaining potato compost on that bed, ready for planting. I'm going to be putting the beetroots in there. So that's my first job. I've got to clear that bed of weeds. Not take 2 minutes. 1 minute and 59 seconds later. Alright, fingers crossed. Let's see what Charlotte's going to offer us, if anything. Come on, Charlotte. One. Put that there. 2. Right, let's have a look. Okay. So, first impressions from Charlotte. She's looking a little bit promising. Fingers crossed. Let's have a look, see what we've got. Plenty of root growth. Bit of a root mass there. So I put the seed potatoes there, about 3 inches from the bottom. Sat from the bottom. And they tend to grow around and above that. I'll get my little bucket. There's my little bucket, and I'll put a Charlotte in so I don't forget who she is. And we'll see what we've got here. The big spud reveal. That's some decent ones, some nice ones. That's the sort of size I like for me new potatoes and salad potatoes. That kind of a size. I won't bore you to tears. Let me just have a look through these. That's none too shabby. That's none too shabby, that's alright. More than I expected, and this one's looking even more promising on this baby. They could have probably stood another week or so, them though. So the ones that are in the square Tesco buckets I'm going to leave in. It's just because they're yellowing off and it's all falling down, if you like. The leaf quality's not too good. These ones I'd do the same with, but they've still got flowers on. And I've noticed that the bees have been over them. But they're looking shot at in this bed at the front. So again, I may just cut the horns off, to be fair. I don't know though, because the bees are still on them, look. And I like bees. But let's see what we've got here. So I've just got down past the seed potato, which is there, and this is looking pretty crammed, isn't it? This is looking pretty crammed too. Let me get my bucket. And there's nothing wrong with them. There's a couple of them that's still got the little babies coming on, if you look. And I'm gonna, even though they're only tiny, I'm gonna get them out. Look at that slug, swine. Where can I put him? Put him in there with the naughty weeds. Yeah, getting a good little crop off these. Surprising, really, because we've not had the ideal conditions. I still got me mix right. Bloodfish and bone, and a little bit of concentrated farmyard manure, which is the chicken manure, and I mean a little bit, like a very shallow scoop sprinkled in. If you look back in the videos, you'll see that 2024 potato shootout, I think it's called, where I start these off, probably about 3.5 months ago. I don't think I've ever grown Charlotte before, but these are looking pretty prolific, or decently prolific. They're certainly winning at the moment because they're the only ones that I've tipped out. I've got 5 different varieties to tip out. So let's just go through these. I'll just pause it so it's not going on forever. Now I'm going to say there's a good kilo there of potatoes of the Charlotte variety from those 2 buckets, which is alright. That's not bad. That's pretty good. And they're all good quality. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, we have Sharps Express. Let's check these guys out. Now at first impressions, they're not looking anywhere near as good, but it remains to be seen. Let me dig into them, see what we've got. So that was bucket number 1, and there's quite a few small ones in it, but there are several quite decent specimens there. I'd say there's less than a pound though. There's probably about 10 ounces, 12 ounces. It's less than a pound there. So, but they're all sort of around the centre, and not so many around the edges on these. Just got to make sure you don't leave any little potatoes in the soil. As you can see there, as you dig into them, that's where they're hiding. They're around where the seed potato was. So let's have another go at these. Let's see what we've got. They all seem to be around the central seed potato, the decent sized ones, like that. So it's a bit of a treasure trove, really, isn't it? All amassed around the central mass. Yeah, so a bit less of the Express, probably around about £2 in weight. But again, nothing wrong with them. Decent condition. Pentland Javelin. Got my fingers crossed for these ones as well because they taste good, Pentland Javelin. Well, they're looking promising. And they're still looking promising. Look at that. So again, there's a couple of pounds again of the Javelin. The Pentland Javelin. Brilliant. Now these babies, the Ulster prints, are my favourites, so I've really got my fingers crossed for these ones. Let's hope they've done well. So first impressions, there is some bulging around this central area that you can see. Yeah, the good lady wife just called then. She's got an extra tasty chicken in the oven on a slow roast. So I've got about 2 hours. And so they're going to be in our belly in about 2 hours. Let's have a look at them. Well, the quality's looking fantastic so far, guys. There's the seed potato, the manky seed potato on top. And again, they grow all around the seed potato by the look of it. Right, let's get me bucket. This is bucket number 1. Oh, I'm glad they've come through these. Ulster prints are our favourite, or they're certainly my favourite, of the new potato varieties. And the year before this, we couldn't get any seed potatoes, and I hadn't saved any seed potatoes, unfortunately. I hadn't managed to save them, you know, for the next season, which is a bit unfortunate, wasn't it? But this last year, the garden centre had them in, and we got a Pole Green nurseries we go to at Charnock Richard, and yeah, they usually have a good selection of seed potatoes. Of course, you can plant any potato, but you don't get the Ulster prints in the supermarkets. You don't tend to see them in the supermarkets. You get like Charlotte, and you get Saxon and spuds like that, but you don't tend to get the Ulster prints. Let's see what we've got. Now they're heavier. I'd say there's a kilo there from the 2 buckets, which I'm quite happy about. That'll do. And last but hopefully not least, a couple of fine Saxons there. King Harold with the arrow in his eye, and Alfred the Great. Let's hope we get great results. So this is just about an average, really. There's the Saxon potato that went in, and from that bucket we got those out. So you're getting around about, I'd say about 7 times in weight, you know, more, I don't know, maybe more than that. That's about the same size. 2, 3, 4, maybe 5, 6. Yeah, you're probably getting about 8 times as much. 8 or 9 times as much out from the 1 seed potato. Which isn't bad, is it, really? We've had years where we've had like 15 or 16 times as many in weight, like, you know, from the original. That's the original seed potato. I love spuds. It's the gift. Potatoes are the gift that keeps on giving. Now again, from them 2 buckets, I'd say we've got about 2.5 pounds there. About 2.5 pounds, or just over a kilogram in weight. Like I said, that's your seed potato. There's 2 of those seed potatoes that's produced that. Not bad, is it? I like it. I like potatoes. So my reckoning is that we've got about between 11 and 12 pounds there of potatoes. New potatoes. Tasty. First earlies, right. I'll show you. Yeah. Similar really, a similar yield across the board. I mean the Express have not done too fantastic. I think the Express, although looking at that, it's not too different, is it? They're all about the same, really. But by weight, some of them weigh heavier than others. So the Ulster Prince weigh pretty heavy. There's a good 2.25 there. Saxon, they're heavier still. Then I'd say there's about 2.5 pound there. About 2 there. They're quite heavy, the Charlotte. About 2.5 there, I would say. And they're about 2, the Javelin. Depending on the density, you hear about the floweriness of a potato, or the waxiness of a potato. The waxy ones way heavier. The Charlotte are quite waxy. The Prince are decently waxy. So that must be the case, because although they look of a similar sort of yield, they feel heavier. Those are heavier. Certain ones are heavier. But yeah, it's good. I like that. Not a bad yield, more than I thought. You're always tempted to dig up more, but I won't. Well, they are looking a bit rough then. One of the things you can get with potatoes is potato blight, and they've not got them. That's just natural conditions that have caused that sort of die off. They've not got the blight. But and like I said, the bees are still going on the flower, so I'm going to leave them anyway. That's more than enough to last us for a good over a week. About 10 days for the family. So just finally to wrap up, all the sort of end stems and the roots, the root ball and the seed potatoes that I pulled out, we're not going to be composting them. We're going to be taking them up to the tip with the rest of the naughty weeds that we've got in here. And I'm going to take out the roots as well from the calabrese and the broccoli and cauliflower from in here, because we've got club root. So that's not going in with the compost either. That's going to be taken and shifted off site. The sort of club root. I'm going to sieve through that and get all the actual examples of the club root out. You can see there, that's the club root. So even though we've had good results, it's had good results with club root. So I can't imagine what they would have been like without the flaming club root. They'd have been prize winners, wouldn't they? But they're going out and they're getting taken off site and disposed of off site, because we don't want the club root. I'm going to thoroughly lime these beds, ready for next year as well, before we plant any more brassicas in there. I'm not going to get put off, because we have planted brassicas in beds that we know have got club root. We just put plenty of lime in, and it suppresses it. You know, look after your soil, because otherwise you'll be waiting 20 years to plant again, which is simply not feasible, boys and girls. Right, well, have a fantastic week. It's Sunday. It's about 2 o'clock, I think. Maybe a little later, about 2:30, I think, on a Sunday. This should be going up around about 6:30. So have a fantastic week. Take care of yourselves and each other, and keep growing with your heads down. And remember, it's what it's all about. Feed yourselves, feed each other, look after each other. Tatty bye. Catch you next time. Ta-da.